Das Auto ist vollgeladen. Heute machen wir uns auf den Weg zum Steffen.
The car is loaded and we're off to Steffen Hegele today. At Steffen's we're doing the load tests for the wing ribs and the sewing of the covering. That will certainly be interesting. We'll take you with us, so that you can see it for yourselves. We'll be on our way soon. See you there. Now we're on the road to Steffen. So, this is what it looks like when the Fokker team Schorndorf or the museum is on the road. The other half is usually asleep.
We packed up the car, no room to spare. Heading to Steffen's, wind in our hair. Got a box of ribs stitched tight and true. Swearing secrets, we'll see it through on the road. On the road to Steffen's we go, testing the wings, stitching just so a century's past.
Ja, da sind wir also bei Steffen zu Hause. Die Frauen gucken auch.
That's where we are now, at Steffen's house. The girls are watching too. They stand off to the side, and the men are setting everything up in the meantime. We have a wing rib for this, suspended in two simulated wing spars. The ribbons are now laid around it, with the little hooks on them. The sand loads, which Steffen weighted out yesterday at almost 500 kilograms, are now gradually being attached here. And I'm almost certain that this won't be enough to destroy the double rib. It's probably not even enough to break the single rib. But we'll see. We'll take it there, step by step.
Begleiten wir jetzt mal Schritt für Schritt. Schauen uns das an, ne? Das ist ja nicht so, dass man es noch nie gemacht hätte. Man weiß es ja.
Und wie gesagt, wenn ihr trinken wollt, einfach sagen.
Wir melden uns dann, ja. Die Kinder sind auch da und gucken zu. Ja.
That's all completely unspectacular for now.
Die Kranwaage ist echt schlecht, die macht echt nur ein halb Kilo. So.
Ja. Lass mal zu.
90.2. That's 9.2. 90. Yeah. 90.2. Soll ich mit denen?
Ja. Sobald innen was dranhängt, ist ja egal, weil dann hast du ja schon das Gegengewicht innen, weißt du? Hast du einen Schwamm oder sowas?
Ja. In einem roten Eimer müsste das sein. Okay, dann da muss ich wacken.
Weiter? Einfach weiter.
Ja, wo noch?
Ja, wo es Platz hat. Was soll ich dir sagen?
Ja, wir haben extra
354.
Vorher war die Kacke auch noch unten. Wenn da einmal jemand
354.
dann runter und dann haben wir extra Beton.
Ja, die Einzelne geht wahrscheinlich kaputt. Die wisst jetzt schon. Wahrscheinlich das denkst du, was halt. Also das Flugzeug hat insgesamt 300.
So eine Rippe haben wir mal getestet.
We tested another rib like this years ago. At 520 kilograms we ran out of space for more sandbags back then. The interesting thing about this rib for comparison is that the rib web here is only made of 1 mm plywood. It can therefore be used as a comparison to the other rib.
Deswegen ist es interessant zu sehen, was hält die aus im Vergleich dazu.
Heavy loads we carry, every thought in place, so the wings won't falter and our fortune finds its grace. The bird soars high, defying gravity's embrace. With sand in buckets in our hands we race. Back and forth we hustle, tipping into every space, till the weight is daunting, yet we keep the pace. Marvel at the vision, crafted on the board. Years of wisdom guiding, building dreams restored. With sand in buckets, in our hands we run, filling up the corners until the work is done. But wood and steel stand strong, shining through the night. Grandpa showed the way, nothing bends, all is right. With sand in buckets, in our hands we run, filling up the corners until the work is done. What a sight to witness, we won't block our path. Through sorrow, joy, we've learned from every wrath. 1919 echoes, a tale that we embrace. Stable through the ages, the little grasshopper's grace. With sand in buckets, in our hands we run, filling up the corners till the victory is won.
Ich würde erst nach vorne bei 1/3 der Anlasskante noch ein bisschen was dazu hängen.
I would first add more at 1/3 of the rib depth from leading edge at the front and then level it out towards the back later.
But now? Okay, now.
Vorher hat es geknackst.
Running?
Komm auf 10, komm auf 10.
Oh,
Ja.
die kriegt er noch. Stalking.
Oh, that's talking.
Oh, guck mal, jetzt riecht's gleich.
Ich brauche einmal noch eine
I'd like another weight announcement. Then I take a photo of the board while the rib is still supporting the weight.
Solange es noch trägt. Das ist ein Pendel, der ist Quatsch.
Ja, gut, aber das tut man ja nicht. Aber was raus? Boing. Finally.
And following the single rib, the test was carried out to determine the load bearing capacity of the rib stitching.
steel and fire, history's whispers fuel our desire. Crafted hands 1,000 years, now we rise shedding our fears. New creations in the skies, old ways fade but we won't disguise. Once forgotten, now reborn, with fucker made we'll proudly adorn. Aircraft in the air, we're breaking free, trading tales of history, just you and me. Fabric stretched like wings on high, with threads of courage we're ready to fly. Nails and threads, we forge our fate. Innovative minds, we won't hesitate. Every stitch, a promise made. Crafting dreams, we won't be swayed. Stability in every flight, with passion burning, we ignite. From the shadows, we rise and soar. What fucker build, we'll shout for more. Aircraft in the air, we're breaking free, trading tales of history, just you and me. Fabric stretched like wings on high, with threads of courage, we're ready to fly. Sand! 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 Heavy loads we carry, every thought in place, so the wings won't falter and our fortune finds its grace. The bird soars high, defying gravity's embrace. With sand in buckets in our hands we race. Back and forth we hustle, tipping into every space, till the weight is daunting, yet we keep the pace. Marvel at the vision, crafted on the board. Years of wisdom guiding, building dreams restored. With sand in buckets in our hands we run, filling up the corners until the work is done. But wood and steel stand strong, shining through the night. Grandpa showed the way, nothing bends, all is right. With sand in buckets in our hands we run, filling up the corners until the work is done. What a sight to witness, we won't block our path. Through sorrow, joy, we've learned from every wrath. 1919 echoes, a tale that we embrace. Stable through the ages, the little grasshopper's grace. With sand in buckets in our hands we run, filling up the corners till the victory is won.
Jetzt habt ihr ja gesehen, wie die Belastungsversuche durchgeführt wurden. Hier habe ich nochmal die drei. So, now you have seen how the load tests were carried out. Here I have provided all three test setups again to show you briefly what exactly happened. First of all, we loaded the double rib, that is what is sitting here in the wing. We have 1, 2, 3 per wing side to reinforce the wing. These are compression elements that also support the two spars against each other. We started to load the double rib and then thought halfway through that we could do without it. We stopped at 326 kilograms of load. We then switched to loading a normal standard rib. The chances of destroying it were better. The Fokker V40 was one of the first airplanes in which Fokker made the rib web, that is this one here, from 1mm plywood. He wanted to use even less material in the airplane and took it to extremes. in terms of strength, material requirements and weight. In order to prove this, we carried out this test with the aim of loading the rib until it breaks. The production version of the Fokker D7 still had 1.2 mm plywood installed here. As I said, this was reduced to 1 mm in the V40 and later. This proved successful and was later adopted for the production of the D7s and the Fokker C1 after the First World War. The interesting thing was that we were able to put a nice load on the rib, but then we made a small mistake. There were heaps of sandbags hanging from it and they soon ran out of space. We attached one of them at a slight angle, which caused the strap to pull at an angle and bend the rib. This unnatural load then led to the rib breaking. We continued to put weight on the front era. The rib bore a total of 566 kilograms of sand load until it finally broke. Only then did it give way. Unfortunately, the last photo we took shows this 493 kilograms on the panel. The reason for this was that we had made a miscalculation in the total, as it turned out when we recalculated. So we actually ended up with 566 kilograms for this simple rib made of 1 mm plywood, as it is everywhere here in the wing. 566 kilograms, that's quite impressive. What impressed us all the most, however, was this covered piece. The aim of this test was to determine whether the method Fokker used to sew the covering fabric to the rib was stable enough. Yes, it was. The expert gave us the task of placing 79 kilograms of sand in the front section in front of the front spar, 78 kilograms of sand in the middle section and another 21 kilograms of sand in the rear section. So the total weight that the covering material or the stitching should have held was 178 kilograms. The expert also suggested increasing the load by at least 200% for the intended breakage test. We actually tried and failed. At 300% of the required load, that is 500 kilograms, we simply stopped the whole thing. It no longer made any sense. There wasn't even any noise or any soft sounds. Of course, there was a slight outward bulge, but with any airplane, this is normal. And the sewing itself is an absolutely stable structure, so Fokker already knew exactly what they were doing at that time. And anyone who is interested in how this development at Fokker, that is the attachment of the covering material to the aircraft, the path from the initial nailing to the actual sewing on, and the circumstances that led to this, I recommend browsing our website. We have a nice article there that explains exactly this development. Very interesting, absolutely rock solid, and absolutely sufficient for our replica, which is certified in the aerobatics class. In order to be able to cover the wing with the fabric, it must of course be removed. Fokker designs are kept incredibly simple here. The cantilever design means that nothing needs to be adjusted. No bracing wires adjusted, no angle of incidence adjusted. All you need to do is to unhook the aileron cables and the 6 bolts holding the wing to the fuselage can be removed, and the same is then done backwards once the wing can be put on the fuselage again. No unnecessary adjusting required. Now the airplane can be pushed aside a little so that the wing can be removed and worked on.
Simply brilliant, so straightforward. Fokker's plane's a dream restored. Weightless magic, components slim, turning wood and steel into a wind. The wing is taken off, the cover is getting on. We stitch and glue, our spirit's strong. Lifted down with just a pull, a three-man job, no need to struggle. Flying high is the ultimate aim. No adjustments, just play the game. Cantilever, light as air. Fokker's gift, a sight so rare. Tiny marvel, the V40 shines ahead of its time, it redefines. For the dreamer, no frills inside, a little plane full of pure delight. With wings down and colors bright, we sew and paint, hearts take flight. Nails and threads, the tension tight. Fokker's vision, a dazzling sight. And in the end, we take to the sky. Oh no, hold on tight, we're flying high. Grasshopper, he's breaking free. With a spark in his eyes, he's wild and carefree. Wings unfolding, ready to soar. Feel the rush, can't hold back anymore. We're racing the wind.
It would be stupid now if something was forgotten inside the wing. That's why we now check together and independently whether all the screw connections are secure and whether everything is in place. The fixing bolts for the aileron hinge pieces still have to be drilled and pinned, for example.
Fokker's gift, a sight so rare.
Schöner Flügel, gell? Nice wing.
Sieht das traurig aus, das Flugzeug. Oh, noch mal. Ja, das kriegt er aber wieder. Scheiße, ist das geil. Scheiße, ist das geil. Und H7.
Das ist auch kein Spiel drin, gell? Nichts. Es läuft perfekt. Was war das für Schrott? Was das war? So was größer.
And while Martin and I took care of the screws to be drilled and pinned, Jerry printed out the templates for the letters that we want to paint on the surface of the wing, and we just lay them out here and admire in advance how it will turn out.
Engels is the name scratched deep in the steel, handwritten bold on the wing like a seal. Black and white pride screams from the frame. Fokker V40 destined for the fame. Roar of the engine breaking the sky. Echoes of glory.
Gestern Abend haben Gary und ich den Tragflügel von der V40 runtergenommen. Die restlichen Vorbereitungs... Yesterday evening, Martin, Jerry and I took the wing off of the V40 and made the remaining preparations. We checked whether all the parts were in the wing, whether the screw connections were all secured, the missing cutter pins holes were drilled, and so on. The fabric was then spread out on the wing. We are now ready to start covering. This means that the fabric is now placed on top, properly stretched in the direction of span, clamped and pinned, then stitched to the ribs. And now you can watch the whole process being done. I already showed you how to sew the wings in the last episode when I was building the test setup. For the sewing test, the whole thing now takes place on all the ribs of the wings.
Everything hangs by a thread. In the end, it's those fine threads that lift us high into the blue, like the old dreams whisper true. Long thread, lazy girl, that's what Grandma used to twirl. We need that thread to rise. It's the only way to touch the skies. Stitch by stitch, we find our way. With the crooked needle we sway, sewing easy, pure and bright, and not every third holding tight. Later we glide, wings spread wide. On that thin thread we take the ride. Cut to length, fast and strong. With every heartbeat we sing our song. A strip of fabric keeps it tight, so no loose knots in our flight. 'Cause the fun would end too soon if we fell like a stone beneath the moon. With nimble fingers we craft our wings. When the sun shines, oh how it sings. We climb aboard, the bird takes flight. child in a mother's embrace. Everything hangs by a thread in this space. In the end, it's those fine threads that gave us strength to soar ahead. We're ready to fly, building dreams from steel and fire. History's whispers fuel our desire. Crafted hands 1,000 years. Now we rise, shedding our fears. New creations in the skies. Old ways fade, but we won't disguise. Once forgotten, now reborn. What Fokker made, we'll proudly adorn. Aircraft in the air, we're breaking free. Trading tales of history, just you and me. Fabric stretched like wings on high. With threads of courage, we're ready to fly. Nails and threads, we forged our fate. Innovative minds, we won't hesitate. Every stitch a promise made. Crafting dreams, we won't be swayed. Stability in every flight.
Of course, everything was stretched tightly in the direction of span beforehand. Now, to attach the wing tip after the ribs have been sewn in place, the fabric is pulled tight again and nailed along the top of the edge bow. As the wing is very light, it can now simply be turned over the trailing edge. The whole fun is then repeated on the underside. The control cables are all stowed inside the wing and rolled up as well as possible. Later, the lower ones come out through the maintenance flaps. The upper ones through the openings provided for this purpose with leather grommets.
Our wing is now being covered with a lot of patience and well mastered until it flashes in the sun. That will be a lot of fun. If the fabric doesn't fit tight, the wing will simply be shy. First the tension has to be right, then you can let the needle fly. The fabric is pulled up tightly. This is done by to be careful at every corner. Watch and see if the fabric doesn't fit tight. The wing will simply be shy. First the tension has to be right. Then you can let the needle fly. Our wing is now covered in printed aircraft fabric. A lot of patience and skill help convince it, until it flashes in the sun. That will be a lot of fun,
As with the top, each rib on the underside is now sewn on the same way.
the wing will simply be shy. First the tension has to be right. Then you can let the needle fly. Then you can let the needle fly.
The fabric also needs to be cut on the underside for the wing fittings.
Cutouts in the colorful skin, crafted with a love so true. Building up the dreams within, the blade cuts clear. It knows just what to do. Soft linen falls, a pattern bright, whispers of the hands that shape the night. Fittings flash, breaking through the skin. A wing that soars, let the journey begin. Rising high on those struts of steel. In a gentle sweep, let the heart reveal. The art of hands, forever young. Creating magic in every song sung. The blade glides smooth, guiding every plan. With a heart of wood where dreams expand. The linen opens, soft and light. Forms emerging, brought to life by might. Fittings flash, breaking through the skin. A wing that soars, let the journey begin. Rising high on those struts of steel. In a gentle swing, let the heart reveal. The art of hands, forever young. Creating magic in every song sung. Every cut sings of stories told. A work of art, a melody bold. The wood reveals what hands have shaped. In every line, a legacy escapes. Fittings flash, breaking through the skin. A wing that soars, let the journey begin. Rising high on those struts of steel. In a gentle
As soon as the cuts for the fittings are in the right places, you can continue sewing. This is not possible beforehand, as otherwise there's a risk of twinkles and the cuts would have to be enlarged to remedy this. Linen fabric is relatively unforgiving here. The covering fabric is of course not only sewn to the ribs but also all around the wing. Here you can see how it is sewn to the so-called wing trailing edge wire. The typical wavy lines are caused by the pull of the fabric on the wire or braid. Fokker used the braid here, while Albatros or the post-war Swiss-built Fokker E.7s for example used the wire. The fabric on the underside is first wrapped around the wing trailing edge wire and secured with a looped seam. The fabric of the upper side is later also folded down and also sewn to the wing trailing edge wire. Finally, as with all seams, a linen strip is glued over the top. It looks a little clumsier at the tip bows. Here the pinned fabric is cut off and folded inwards, and the fabric ends that meet in this way are also pulled tightly together with an overlock seam. I made one side, while on the other side Matze wanted to have a look at what I was doing and was allowed to sew the other tip bow. He also helped me with the ribs.
Our wing is now being covered with a lot of patience and well mastered until it flashes in the sun. That will be a lot of fun. If the fabric doesn't fit tight, the wing will simply be shy. First the tension has to be right, then you can let the needle fly. The fabric is pulled up tightly. This is done by cutting close to the edge with the scissors which cut.
After sewing the ribs, each seam is covered with a 2 cm wide strip of linen. Today pink shears are often used for this, but they were not used on Fokker. The strips are also cut by hand, just like back then. Jerry helped a lot here.
The fabric dictates and forces, it all requires a sure master's hand. If the fabric doesn't fit tight, the wing will.
The next step was to saturate the covering with dope. Pure linen. There was huge amounts of dope here. I needed 60 liters of dope for the entire wing, 5 coats each for top and bottom. At this point, a huge thank you to Stefan and Roman for their donation of materials. Without you, this would not have been possible so quickly. I have explained in detail what the dope does and how it works in previous episodes, so I don't want to go into that again today.
In the workshop where dreams ignite, sweet aromas dance in morning light. Fabrics whisper, worn with care, holding magic in the air. The workshop full of fumes of dope. Rich vapors drift through the where dreams ignite, hope fills the air, a pure delight with every layer. The whispers grow as we lift our spirits, together we flow.
Especially when soaking for the first time, the fabric may become heavy and sag. If you are not careful, it can stick to the underlying structure, which is then less attractive. A saddler's needle can often be used to prick the damp fabric and pull it up slightly.
In the workshop, where dreams ignite, sweet aromas dance in morning light, fabrics whisper, one with care, holding magic in the air. The workshop, full of fumes of dope.
At the points where the fittings protrude through the skin fabric, leather grommets are cut to fit so that nothing can fray or rip.
Smooth as silk, we're winding tight, crafting dreams that soar in flight. Echoes of those first creations, building wings, new explanations. What thoughts danced in minds so bold, as tales of flight began to unfold. With every stitch, the spirit song in the space where we belong. The workshop, full of fumes of dope. Rich vapors drift through the air, pregnant with hope.
It took 4 days until everything was ready with the wing. Now we can start with the color design. As before, everything is painted by hand. I don't mask anything off and I don't use a spray gun. I use very simple paper cardboard cutouts as templates and a soft pencil is used to mark it all out. The paint scheme was shown in an earlier episode and reflects a what if of the aircraft had it gone into private hands back in the day. In reality, the aircraft was a one-off only and was covered in printed aircraft fabric with no marking ever at all. This however was too boring for me, so I decided to go with this one. Alberto Lacalle, also known as Bito de Rumbe on Facebook, was kind enough to create the color plates to visualize the scheme. I deliberately chose the colors black and white as a contrast to the otherwise colorful camouflage of the aircraft fabric, and at the same time serves as a reference to the color markings of the German fighter planes familiar to the eye. I usually do not put my own name in big letters on an aircraft, but since this goes in the spirit of the 1920s and was a significant achievement to recreate that plane for the first time in 106 years, I decided to have my name in 1920 style lettering on the wing as well. Painting it all on by hand also added up to my personal understanding of what it might have been of hand painting those planes back in the day, especially those wartime Fokkers during frontline service and all their colorful pilot schemes. The application stands in contrast to modern day paintworks that mostly are taped and done very nice and shiny in paint booth with spray guns which have nothing to do with what it was back in the day. I wanted to have the hand painted character and visible brush strokes and inaccuracies and flies that come with it all. It gives a certain true flavor that this airplane deserves. Keep in mind, it is a 1919 aircraft.
That's when beauty steals your heart. Sign painter, a craft of old. Every brushstroke tells a tale. With love and care, the colors unfold. Patience brought the dream to sail. Everything shines when wings regain their hue. Fogger painted bright, oh it's true. 1919, what a sight. Type V40 in the golden line. Look at what Anthony built back then. Now it stands proud once again. People marvel at our little plane, with laughter in the skies like a sweet refrain. Every inch crafted by hand and heart, stroke by stroke, that's where the magic starts. In the sun it gleams, a sight divine, a tribute to the passion that won't decline. Everything shines when wings regain their hue. Fogger painted bright, oh it's true. 1919, what a sight. Type V40 in the golden line. You can't do without a painter, turning the mundane into art. When the world wakes up in color, that's when beauty steals your heart. Sign painter, a craft of old. Every brushstroke tells a tale. With love and care, the colors unfold. Patience brought the dream to sail. Everything shines when wings regain their hue. Fokker painted bright, oh it's true. 1919, what a sight. Type V40 in the golden light. Look at what Anthony built back then. Now it stands proud once again. People marvel at our little plane, with laughter in the skies like a sweet refrain. Every inch crafted by hand and heart, stroke by stroke, that's where the magic starts. In the sun it gleams, a sight divine, a tribute to the passion that won't decline. Everything shines.
You stupid caver are you? Why don't you just do what I want?
Fokker painted bright, oh it's true. 1919, what a sight. Type V40 in the golden light. Every inch crafted by hand and heart, stroke by stroke, that's where the magic starts. In the sun it gleams, a sight divine, a tribute to the passion that won't decline. Engels is the name scratched deep in the steel. Handwritten bold on the wing like a seal. Black and white pride screams from the frame. Fokker V40 destined for the fame. Roar of the engine breaking the sky. Echoes of glory. set. Rivets and bolts, they sing in the breeze. Hands of a maker who bends time with ease. Worn leather gloves gripping the air. Legacy rising with nothing to spare.
100 years ago, the tale was spun. Libel varnish, the work's never done. Though the dragonfly's gone, we still find our way. With the finest boat varnish, we'll keep the gray at bay. Protecting the beauty, it shines like a star. Every corner glimmers, it's a sight by far. Against yellowing shadows, it stands the test. Reflecting our smiles, we know we're blessed. Simply brilliant, so straightforward. Fokker's plane's a dream restored. Weightless magic, components slim, turning wood and steel into a wind. The wing is taken off, the cover is getting on. We stitch and glue, our spirit's strong. Lifted down with just a pull. A three-man job, no need to struggle. Flying high is the ultimate aim. No adjustments, just play the game. Cantilever, light as air. Fokker's gift, a sight so rare. Tiny marvel, the V40 shines ahead of its time, it redefines. For the dreamer, no frills inside, a little plane full of pure delight. With wings down and colors bright, we sew and paint, hearts take flight. Nails and threads, the tension tight. Fokker's vision, a dazzling sight. And in the end, we take to the sky. Oh no, hold on tight, we're flying high. Grasshopper, he's breaking free. With a spark in his eyes, he's wild and carefree. Wings unfolding, ready to soar. Feel the rush, can't hold back anymore. We're racing the wind, chasing the sun. In this wild ride, we're second to none.